This conference will now be recorded.
Now let's discuss some more questions. Now, whether we've covered these topics or not covered these topics, let us try to understand the scenarios first. Then when we experiment on these scenarios, you will have practical understanding. Okay. Okay. Let me put another one. What was the last number? 11, 12. How to view and download trial balance in SAP. Okay, so everybody knows what is a trial balance, right? Ledger account balances of all the GL accounts. Is
Closing
that right?
balance. Yes, sir.
Now, how we will pull out this trial balance from SAP, both from ECC and from S4HANA. So what is the transaction code if there is any? Is there only one transaction code, or if there are multiple transaction codes, that we have to understand? And normally in any real environment, in any company, in any project, how a client or how a user will pull out the trial balance. This is something which is very important for every month end closure. Is that right? Your month end closure is complete only when you finalize your P&L and balance sheet. But your P&L and your balance sheet is extracted, or sorry, your P&L and your balance sheet is prepared only when you have the trial balance in place. How this trial balance comes out from SAP is your question. And when you get these kind of questions, there is no scope, there is no exception, there is no excuse for your answers that I'm not aware, I've not seen, no idea, confusions, incorrect answers. Straight away, these answers will lead to rejection. Because if you're finance background candidate, if you're a FICO consultant, if you worked on SAP FICO, these are must, no other option. Clear?
Yes, sir.
How to draft P&L and balance sheet in SAP, and are they predefined in SAP, or we need to design them? Okay, so everybody knows what is P&L and what is balance sheet, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, how this P&L and balance sheet is drafted in SAP? So do we have any standard transactions to pull out the P&L balance sheet? If yes, are they predefined? When I say are they predefined, the way I get my GL report standalone, I don't have to do anything. I just need to pass the entries. If I go to standard reports like FBL3 and FAGLL03, various other reports, I can straight away get my GL report. Is my P&L balance sheet like that? If I pass the entries, can I straight away get my P&L figures, balance sheet figures, or is it something that we have to define in the system? Clear with the question? Is question clear?
Yes, sir. The sheet is clear.
Right. So basically, this revolves around your financial statement version. Okay, to give a hint, this is all about your FSV, financial statement version. How this financial statement version is created, what parameters are to be considered while drafting financial statement version, what input you will get from your client, and how you are going to design it. If there are any changes, if there are any corrections, challenges in your FSV, how you are going to accommodate them. So you need to have clarity at that level. Okay.
Sir, balance sheet contains the value of real accounts and personal accounts, right, sir?
Right. So next question, let's say validations and substitutions with practical examples. Right. So you will also be questioned on validations and substitutions, wherein you will have to explain them the purpose of validation substitution with practical examples. When we say practical example, real-time scenarios. They might ask you to explain how validations are created in system, how validations are created, and how you are going to define them. For which situation you have defined a validation, what was the need of the business, and how did you achieve this? So you should have some real-time examples with you. Let's say
Vendor payments about 10,000 through cash.
block GL postings for a particular account. Okay, so block GL postings for a particular account except for few users. Like this, let's say I have a GL account. Okay, I have a GL account, but I want only the dedicated users whom I pick to be able to pass the entry. Assuming you have 100 users, out of 100 users, whenever this dedicated GL account comes, only the 2 users that you pick should be able to pass the entry. Remaining 98 users should get an error stating you are not authorized to pass the entries in this account or anything in such nature. Okay. Likewise, you have to take practical examples which will be used in a real environment. Not the simple validations that you get on Google or any other sources, because the kind of example that you are explaining will let the other person know whether you practically did or worked on it, or you simply gathered information from the external sources. So be very careful when you are giving your examples, scenarios, and your answers. Let's say postings to be allowed to specific users in the closed periods. What do we mean when we say closed period? When I say closed period, what do I mean?
Financials are prepared.
Right? Let's say, according to this statement, I mean currently we are in the month of February or February period. Now I want all the users to pass entries only in February, except few users that I pick should be able to pass the entries in January also. Except the users who I pick, or the users who I pick should be able to pass entries in January also. Then how these kind of things are achieved with your validations? These are all simple validations that we write. So we do not require any functional help, sorry, any technical help. No need of any ABAP, nothing. So you'll have to pick these kind of validations to explain in your interview or to talk, to discuss with the other person. To write some more, let's say, blocking of future document date and future date except for few users. What does this mean? So if I try to put date of document or posting as tomorrow, which will be future date if I put 21st.
Yes, sir.
Right, so I want system to stop users from giving future posting date or document date except selected users. Okay, except for selected users. System should stop posting of a future date or document date for all the users. How these kind of scenarios are handled. Now, whatever we have written so far, three, all are very simple ones, which are very, very useful in any project. Okay, so you can also write simple one like reference and document header text field validations. Okay, so GL amount validations, like when you are using a particular GL, amount should not exceed a specific amount. You, let's say if you take cash account, I don't want anybody to record cash account or cash transaction beyond 1,000 rupees in any transaction, which means in a single transaction cash cannot be received or paid beyond 1,000. How these kind of requirements are handled, and most important, exception handling in validations. What is exception handling? Exception handling is nothing but relaxation, right? Let's say I say this way or this route is not allowed for everybody, then I'm not supposed to tell that this route is closed for everybody. There will be some cases as an exception or as an emergency under which you will have to allow a particular user, right? So how these exceptions are handled? Let's say I'm telling future document date or future posting date should not be allowed. But what if there is a genuine case? What if there is a genuine case wherein future posting date is needed? Because there are certain entries wherein you will pass the entry today, you will reverse the entry tomorrow, today itself. Correct? Especially your provision related entries. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Provision related entries will be passed on 31st of, let's say, January and will be reversed on 1st of February. No surprise, you may be carrying out this activity on 31st of January itself. So in this situation, 31st January is current date, 1st February is future date.
Yes, sir.
Now, in case if I open future period, February period, I want only the selected users to pass the entries in February period. By default, the system should stop all the other users. How these kind of things are accommodated? Now, whatever we are writing, everything we are writing, which are standard, straightforward functional activities. No technical involvement, no ABAP involvement. Clear? Now, similarly, the substitutions. Substitution is basically very simple one, but how we will use substitutions is also something you'll have to figure out. Next one, default account assignment. Okay, so in short, profit center and cost center. When we say default account assignment, what do we mean? We mean assigning profit center, cost center by default. Why we have to assign by default? There are certain transactions. There are certain transactions wherein system cannot determine profit center or cost center, especially these kind of entries are posted in the background. When we talk about background posting, is any user posting manually the entry or system is posting the entry automatically? When we talk about background posting, is this a system auto posted entries or user manual posted entries?
System
Auto post entry.
System auto posted entries. When system is posting the entries automatically, certain GL accounts require account assignment. Let's say profit center is needed, cost center is needed. If user is passing the entry, user will know that okay, I need to put a profit center here or cost center here. They will key in the profit center or cost center manually. What if this is a system driven entry? System will not proceed further unless and until this profit center or cost center is filled up. How these cases are handled, in what circumstances, under what kind of financial transactions this is required. Okay, so such accounting entries, such business scenarios you have to list out, wherein you have to enable default profit center, default cost center, transaction code where this is enabled in ECC, in S4 HANA. Okay, along with the testing, you'll have to literally pass an entry. You have to literally pass an entry, making sure that the profit center and cost center is auto picked up, automatically picked up by the system. The moment you put GL account, profit center is automatically supplied or cost center is automatically supplied based on your configuration. Next one. This probably, what are vendor and customer on account payments? Okay, this is again very important. What is your vendor on account payment? What is your customer on account payment? How these entries are handled? Okay, and the next one, partial payments and residual payments. How we will identify the invoice current outstanding in case of both cases? Clear? First point, you have to know what is partial payment, what is residual payment, what is the difference between these two. And if you have an invoice of 1,000 rupees and you made payment in two installments, let's say 200, let's say invoice is 1,000 and payment maybe 200 and 350. Now this will lead the net outstanding of how much, what is still balance, still outstanding in this invoice after making 200 and 350?
450.
450. Now from system, if I have passed this 200 and 350 using partial payment method, how I will know that this invoice has 450 current outstanding? If I pass this 200, 350 using residual method, how I will know the current outstanding is 450? Which one do you recommend or which one do you suggest to your client? If you were to differentiate, if you were to convince me between partial and residual payment, what example are you going to take to convince me? How you are going to convince me to use partial payment over residual or residual payment over partial payment? Clear? Next one. What is automatic payment program. You'll have to list out the basic functionalities of automatic payment program, how this is executed, how this is configured, only the basic overview of it. Okay. Next one, what are 4 P's in APP? Okay. When you talk about automatic payment program, so people might ask you what are 4 P's in APP or what are 4 P's in automatic payment program. If you are not able to answer what are these 4 P's, whatever you tell, whatever you talk about APP is of no use, because this is the basic fundamental question. If you are unable to answer, no matter how accurately you are answering the other questions of APP, I will not get convinced. So you must identify what are those 4 P's. Anybody know what are those 4 P's?
Parameter, proposal, payments, and printout.
Parameters, proposal, payment, printout. Right. Now, exception handling in APP. What is exception handling in APP? Okay, in APP also you have something called exception. Exception is nothing but either including something or excluding something. That is my exception. Am I correct?
Yes.
So how these kind of exceptions are handled in your APP? Next one. If I have an open vendor advance and an open invoice, what happens in APP? Will system pay the invoice for full amount, or it will adjust advance and pay balance, or it will ignore advance? Is my question clear? I have one vendor open invoice. Okay, I have one open vendor advance. I have one open vendor invoice. Now this advance is not related to my invoice scenario 1. This advance related to my invoice scenario 2. If the advance is not related to invoice, what system is going to do when you run APP? So is your invoice short paid to the extent of advance, or in spite of having advance, system will still make the full payment? What exactly system will do in this situation is something that we have to find out. Clear up?
Yes.
So what is the importance of next payment date in APP? In APP, you will find something called next payment date. What is the importance of that field? And can we post backdated payments in APP? What do I mean when I say backdated payments in APP? Now on 20th of February, can I run APP for 10th of January date? Or can I run payment for 5th of February date? So will system allow not is what something you'll have to figure out. Now all these are the points which you will not be able to talk, you will not be able to convince the other person unless you practically see them on the system, right? So these points will require your practical attention on the system, not theoretical. Now let me put the other one, 24. How GLs are determined in APP. How GLs are determined in APP. What GLs are determined from APP basically?
Bank outgoing.
Bank outgoing GL will get determined from APP. Only bank GLs or any other GLs?
Bank outgoing and cash discount.
Discount GLs, tax related GLs, all this will be part of your GL determination from your APP. In short, what are the different GL accounts or different accounts which will come automatically from your APP? In your APP, you are going to pass only the vendor account, correct? Right? You will tell the
Customer and
system only the vendor account. Customer we use very rarely for APP. So let's go ahead only with vendor case. So you will pass only vendor account. But as an outcome, you are going to have different accounting entries wherein debit credit to different accounts, not only to the bank account, but also to your tax related accounts, discount related account, bank charges related accounts. From where how all these accounts are being derived is what you have to explain. Now, if I put the next one, so can we use same profit center for multiple company codes? If yes, on what basis? What configs are needed? One accounting entry as an example. Okay, so whether we can use one profit center or single profit center in multiple company codes? If yes, for what purpose we use such profit centers and what configuration is needed for it, and one accounting entry wherein you have to use one profit center in both company codes. Clear?
yes, sir.
Next one, to add new cash journal. Go on mute, Raju, if you're not talking. To add a new cash journal, what configs are needed? Right? If you wanted to add a new cash journal, what configurations we will be doing? So how to restrict cash journal authorizations only to the respective department or area users. Let's say you have some 10 cash journals, but you may be having 200 users. But how are you going to restrict this 10 cash journals are used only by the 10 cashiers, not by any other user? Normally, what will happen if you have the posting authorization, you can pass entries in any account. But how you are going to restrict these kind of scenarios, situations, wherein only the cashier is able to pass the entries in petty cash? If any other user tries to record the entry, system should stop them. So it should not be allowed for them. So how these kind of requirements are handled? Okay, so next is your correspondences, why we use them and how we configure them. Any idea what is correspondence?
Account statement.
Right. Correspondences are used for the statement purpose, customer statement, your GL statement, or your vendor statement. How these correspondences are used, in what format, and if there is any configuration, how you are going to configure them. And aging reports for vendor and customer. On what logic the aging is calculated? Okay, so you have to know what is aging report and on what logic the aging is calculated. So what are the prerequisites? So you'll have to talk about your payment terms and all. To be in a position to take an example, let's say if you post an invoice on 1st February 2023 with a payment term of 30 days, how system is going to calculate the due date, and based on the due date, how you are going to calculate the aging of the invoice. Is this aging calculated only for the open invoices or for the paid invoices or for all the invoices? Aging is calculated for what invoices, open or paid?
Paid.
Aging. Aging
Open
is
invoice.
normally calculated for open invoices,
Okay.
right? So what is your aging bucket? Maybe you want to calculate aging 0 to 30 days or 30 to 45 days, 30 to 60 days. Every organization will have some logic or some rule behind this. According to their logic, according to their rule, you'll have to set up this aging reports. These are customized reports. Either you can define using report painter or you can design using ABAP program. And next one, BDC uploads. BDC uploads, how this is created and what was your involvement in it. Okay, so BDC is one of the standard and common requirement in every organization. If a person or if an organization is using SAP, they will definitely have BDC upload, especially for the JVs, accounting entries. How these BDC uploads are created, which means BDC programs are created. This is basically the ABAP work. And in this BDC upload program, what is your role? What is your involvement? What you have done in this? So you'll have to talk about you have developed a BDC for, let's say, accounting document posting. How did you develop this? Did you use the recording method, or you have used standard BAPI. If you have used standard BAPI, what was that BAPI? And if you've done any testing, how did you test it? So whether you did positive testing, whether you did negative testing, whether you did regression testing, all these points you will have to talk. Clear? Next. What tables are used in APP execution? So when you run automatic payment program, there are two ways, there are two purposes you run the automatic payment program. One for check and the other one is for bank transfers. Is that correct? APP is executed for two purposes, one for checks and the other one for bank transfers. Is my statement correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, in this, what tables are involved? You must know all the table names. Your REGUH, REGUP, PAYR, BNKA, whatever it is, you have to know all the tables. Clear? And tables for all FI master records. Similarly, tables for all CO master records must be on your fingertips. If I talk about GL, you must know which tables will store your GL account, customer account, vendor account, bank account, your tax codes, all this. Whatever the masters you have in your FI, majority of the masters which are most commonly used, you must know the table name. Similarly, you're controlling areas, cost center, cost element, profit center, internal order, all these tables you have to know. Similarly, tables for FI postings and CO postings. When you do a posting in FI, financial accounting, which tables will get updated? Similarly, when an entry is posted in CO module, which tables will get updated? No other exception for this. You must know. Clear? Like your BSEC, BKPF, BSIS, BSAS, BSAD, BSID, your MBEW, all this. Faggle FlexT, Faggle Flexa, all these kind of tables you have to remember. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, LSMW full process. When I say LSMW full process, you must know how LSMW is created, okay, and how your LSMW is moved from one client to the other client. Let's say development to quality, quality to production. And for what kind of activities we will use LSMW? Is it only for creation, or is it for changing, or is it for deletion also? Okay. Similarly, LTMC full process. How LTMC is used? What exactly you are going to do with LTMC? Is this going to be used only for the creation purpose or also for the change deletion process? And the difference between LSMW and LTMC, which one do you prefer? And what is applicable in which version? If you talk about ECC version, is LTMC applicable or LSMW applicable, or both? Similarly, if you talk about S4 HANA, are these two applicable or only one applicable? If both are applicable, which one are you going to use? Next one, usage of mass transaction code. Okay, T code itself is mass. How we are going to use this mass transaction? On what purpose? With an example, you will have some answers with you. Okay, I think let's write 3 more to make it 40. 38. How tax GL accounts are determined. Okay, if you have tax GL accounts, let it be your withholding tax related GL accounts or normal sales purchase related GL accounts, how these GL accounts are determined. Okay, so they're not focused on the whole configuration. The focus will be only on the GL account determination. Which setting will make you determine these accounts? And next one, how to enable due date filter in the vendor and customer line item reports. Okay, so normally when you open your vendor line item report or customer line item report, basically your FBL1 and FBL5N, you have 3 radio buttons, open items, and then you'll have open item key date, cleared item date, all items, then you'll have posting dates, correct? Got what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
In that report, how do we enable additional filter or additional checkbox due by net due dates, which means I want to run the customer line item report only for the due date of 25th of February. I want to know the transactions or invoices which are due on that particular day alone or a specific date range. What we are going to do to enable them? By default, they are not enabled on your report. You will not find due date of your customer, due date of your vendor on the report. So what we'll have to do to bring them? And 40, how to change line layout or fields for open item selection during customer vendor payments. Okay, so when you're making payment for a customer or when you're making a payment for a vendor account, let's say you will by default get document number, document date, posting date, assignment, different kind of fields. But I wanted to change the order of this. I wanted to add additional fields, or I want to remove the existing fields. How we are going to do this is what you'll have to understand. Next one, default clearing criteria for accounts. So basically, when we talk about clearing, we are talking about offsetting each other, correct? So when you're talking about offsetting each other, how the default criteria is maintained. So I'll tell system first try to match with assignment or try to match with amount, try to match with reference column, where these are maintained is what I mean by this. Now we have listed different questions now. start exploring on these areas as well. Clear? Any doubts on this? Any questions on this? Try as much information as you can gather, right? So that when we are going to do all this practically, you will have clear understanding. In short, if somebody is asking you these questions or similar questions of this type, you should be confident enough to answer. Okay. If you see, none of this requires configuration knowledge. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. None of this question requires configuration knowledge. You cannot answer any of these questions with your configuration. If you explain me configuration for any of the questions, no person who is sitting on your interview chair is going to accept your answers if you talk configs, because none of the question is a straightforward configuration. Everything is a scenario based practical questions. So you will have to interact, communicate on the topic, on the subject. That is possible only when you have good understanding on the particular topic. Clear? Start.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, start gathering information on this, so that when we are going to do all this practically on the system, you will have good understanding and you will gain the confidence to speak out confidently in your interviews. Okay. Yeah. All right, then let me stop this recording.